What if America decriminalized all drugs? U.S. state to decriminalize all drugs recently, following Oregon, which did so in 2021. There are also pushes at a national level for America to decriminalize drugs. Stakeholders disagree over how the policy might best be implemented, though. A federal policy could bring benefits, but also health and law enforcement concerns, experts told Newsweek. Drug decriminalization, for just a moment last month, appeared to have been making itself at home in the American Northwest, raising questions once again as to what the country might look like were it to permit possession. A temporary law in Washington state that had made drugs illegal was due to expire on July 1, in effect making possessing any drug no longer a crime. Lawmakers only approved the new drug policy about 6 weeks before the deadline. Neighboring state Oregon decriminalized possession of small quantities of all drugs in 2021, and 31 states, including Washington, have already decriminalized marijuana to varying degrees. Distributing other drugs remains a criminal offense. There are now calls for a national decriminalization policy. A bill handed to Congress in 2021, which will be reintroduced next month, would end criminal penalties for drug possession and invest in public health and support programs. Advocates argue decriminalizing drugs can help tackle the more than 1 million drug-related arrests a year in the United States and move policy from punishment to treatment. Marianne Williamson, a Democratic presidential candidate, is among those pushing for such a change at national level. How a decriminalized nationwide policy might operate is an open question, and stakeholders offer conflicting accounts of how it would best be implemented, even in the context of pre-existing models. There are tensions over how to fund recovery treatments, and whether that funding should come before a move to decriminalize. Many view Portugal, which decriminalized personal use of all drugs in July 2001, as a shining example of a country that has successfully implemented the move. But there are criticisms of how both Oregon and Portugal have done so that might influence a national policy. It is as yet unclear what impact on drug use Oregon's new law has had, but the legalization of marijuana has led to a record number of users. Depending on how America might decriminalize drugs, some experts have raised concerns about the potential impacts of such a policy on law enforcement and the proliferation of new, illicit substances. But others say the current situation isn't working in either regard. What might a decriminalized system look like? Current decriminalization policies are typically twinned with stepped-up treatment pathways. The arguable benefit of decriminalization is fewer drug-related arrests and less stigma, but an adequate recovery system is needed to stop drug use and related harms from spiraling. The proposed Federal Drug Policy Reform Act 2021 argued that harm reduction services and voluntary, on-demand access to evidence-based substance use disorder treatment have proven highly effective in reducing overdose and the spread of communicable diseases. It called for possession of controlled substances deemed a personal amount to be decriminalized, but at the same time for the Secretary of Health to establish a grant program for expanding access to substance abuse treatments, harm reduction programs such as overdose prevention, and pre-arrest diversions towards support.